Welcome to our podcast where every month we explore key themes and pressing issues related to the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Research. And for each theme we tackle, we welcome none other than the Minister himself, who joins us to explain and simplify what is happening for students, parents, professionals, and everyone concerned directly or indirectly by this ministry. Today's topic is a major one, and our episode today is titled Mauritius Legalizes Micro-Credential. Dr. Kaviraj Sukon, greetings and welcome.
Greetings.
You hardly need an introduction. With more than 30 years in the academic sector, you are the founder of the Open University of Mauritius, the first public university to be fully financially independent, and you made it the university with the highest number of students in Mauritius. Today, you hold the portfolio of Minister of Higher Education, Science and Research. So this ministry is not new territory to you.
No, indeed.
Since taking office, you have clearly shaken things up, especially through reforms to the Higher Education Act. Among the major amendments introduced is one that has caught everyone's attention: micro-credentials. Minister, you don't do things slowly, do you?
When you spent 30 years seeing Mauritians being held back by a system that moves like a tortoise, you say, once you've got the opportunity, you've got to make things move fast. The era when you learned once and earned forever has gone. The world has changed. Today we are talking about lifelong learning, and people may have different jobs throughout their career, throughout their life. So that's why it is important for us to move in that direction, to ensure that our students, our professionals have the skills that allow them to do things better, do things differently, to innovate.
So let's dive straight into the heart of the matter, Minister. To begin with, what exactly is a micro-credential?
Now, a micro-credential, that you will find several definitions. A micro-credential is a short course, which is focused, right? Which is assessed and delivered by a trusted supplier. It could be a university, it can be somebody from the industry, or it can be both industry and university together. But what is important is that that short course is structured. It has clear learning outcomes and it abides by the standards. So everything cannot be classified as micro-credential. So the micro-credential allow the person to acquire the skills that he or she may not have acquired during his or her studies. And those skills are required by the industry. That's why industry is involved.
And how is it different from a traditional degree?
Well, as you know, a degree can take you 3-4 years. But now, a micro-credential can be completed within weeks. And you have the certificate. In Mauritius, the Higher Education Commission will have the register. As you know, we changed the law. Mauritius is among the first country to have included micro-credential in the Higher Education Act. So that's why we will have a register of micro-credential. Anybody looking for micro-credential will have to consult the register.
So, Minister, you must be aware of this. Today, we see countless online certificates everywhere. You pay a fee, watch a few videos, click through some content, and receive a PDF, a certificate, as easy as this. So, how do we distinguish between what is credible and recognized and what is simply an online certificate obtained through 50 clicks, let's say?
A micro-credential, as I said, is structure and has assessment. And third thing, it is designed and delivered by a trusted institution. So, whenever you're going to select a micro-credential, these three things are important. Who has designed it? Who is delivering it? Is there assessment? And who is delivering the certificate? Very important. In Mauritius, Higher Education Commission will keep a register of those micro-credentials. Therefore, anybody in Mauritius willing to go for micro-credential can consult the Register of Higher Education Commission.
Okay, so why was it necessary to legalize micro-credentials now? This is not a new concept, you agree. It existed before, so why the need to amend the law at this stage, Minister?
Universities have their traditional curriculum. We have to give them the legal framework to accommodate micro-credential in their curriculum. So today, they can include micro-credentials within their curriculum. So this is legally possible. Second, we wanted also to have the industry players to trust us. So the university and the industry must speak the same language. And to build that trust, we had to legalize it so that everybody feels comfortable, right? In designing, in delivering, in working together to deliver the micro-credentials. Remember, a micro-credential, which has been successfully completed, will have a certificate. And the certificate will provide the evidence of what the student knows, understand, and can do.
Before legalization, when someone presented a micro-credential to an employer, how was it perceived?
Well, the employer then had to subject the person to certain tasks because, somebody comes to you and says, well, I have followed this micro-credential, which means that, well, I have these skills, I can do these jobs. So how to verify? So the employer had no other choice than to subject the person to certain tasks to ascertain that the person really knows, really has the skills, and really can do the things.
And what changes now with this clear framework, legal framework?
So everybody's aware now. Everybody's aware. So nobody will feel uneasy about micro-credential. That's why we started by legalizing it. We have produced the guidelines so that everybody understands what micro-credentials are. We have developed training for people, right? We train people. So it's not about just changing the law. It was about providing the guidelines, training people, getting the industry and academia together in the same room to develop the program, and as well as to have a register micro-credentials and certificate that would emanate from that.
A game changer.
Indeed, because we would like to decrease the mismatch in demand and supply of labor. For years, I have been hearing that, yes, there is a mismatch. So now it's time to do something about it. Let's work together to reduce the mismatch that exists between the demand and supply of labor. So how to do it is by bringing the industry and the academia together to develop courses, to deliver courses, and to work together.
So, in many of your speeches, Minister, you strongly emphasize the role of a Higher Education Commission to co-design these modules with industry leaders such as Business Mauritius, ARIM, or even CKE. So, why is this collaboration so crucial for you?
Now, employers especially from the private sector, even from the public sector, they are looking for specific skills in their new employees. So, what are those skills? We wanted the university people to understand that. Now, once we know what are the skills required by the employer, we need to translate it into what is delivered in the classroom. So, we've got to have the university accept to include that in their curriculum. But then we have the difficulty. We may not always be able to deliver it as the employer requires. That's why we said, well, let's co-design. So the micro-credentials that we have started with on a pilot basis is co-design micro-credentials by the employers and the universities. So we brought them together, and these institutions that you mentioned, they volunteered to come forward, right? They volunteered to say, well, let's sit down. Let's work together to design that micro-credential. Let's see how we can deliver it together, be it at the university or at the workplace. And that's the beauty of the micro-credential, that it can also be delivered at the workplace. So the student is also aware of how the workplace is, right? What he or she has to expect once he or she is there.
Some may ask, Minister, but training has always existed. What was the urgency to reform the system and introduce micro-credentials now?
You see, we must remember what micro-credentials are so as to ensure that we discriminate between a micro-credential and something which is a training which is not a micro-credential. Is the structure, right? Very important. The structure and the co-design. Previously, we had training which was delivered mostly by the industry only or the university only, but now we've brought them together, right? That's important. And also, the micro credentials, they are part of an official register which the Higher Education Commission is going to have.
So, micro-credentials are not unique to Mauritius. They exist all over the world. How do you plan to stand out? How does Mauritius plan to stand out? And what do we have to offer that others don't?
We are already standing out by legalizing micro credentials in Africa. We are first in Africa. We want employers to work together with the university people. We would like employers to understand the standards that exist in higher education. We would like employers to be part of the design, the delivery of the program, so that when students leave universities, the graduates leave university and go for step into the world of work, they are ready, mostly ready to take up the jobs. They are employable. And this has been the qualm that I've had for years and years.
Okay, so now let's bring this discussion into a real world work context and speak directly to those already in the labor market or those looking to upskill or specialize. Who can truly benefit from micro credentials, and how will these courses be delivered and over what time frame?
Okay. Now, let me tell you the example of Mauritius, what we did. As I said, we legalized the micro-credential, we developed guidelines, we went for training, we got industry and academia together, right? And now the students will have micro-credentials included in their curriculum. And this will start out from January of next year. So they can follow within their syllabus now, they will have micro credentials. Professionals can follow the course. For example, you may have an electrical engineer who decides, well, I think I need a skill in cybersecurity. So rather than going for a degree, that engineer can enroll for a micro credentials in cybersecurity delivered by the university and in the industry. Now, what the industry brings to the micro credential, they bring real life example to the table, right? They open the doors in the industry. You would realize that many times the equipment that an industry has, the network that an industry has, a university may not have it. So by opening the doors, we are giving access to the students, to the academics, to the professionals, to the tools and equipment that they may not have access to. So this is important. We said students who can follow it within their program. Now, students can also follow it outside the program. For example, they may be following a BSc in sociology, but they feel that they would need one micro credentials in law, for example. So they would enroll while doing their BSc, they can enroll for a micro credentials in law, and they will obtain a certificate that will say, well, they have a particular skill in law. For example, family law. A student doing social studies, sociology, yes, and feels that, yes, I need to understand the family law. And therefore, he or she enrolls in that micro credentials and family law to acquire the skills. Now, imagine the micro credentials on family law is not only delivered by the university. You have experts from law sector who are already practicing, who have cases, right, in this field. They will also be delivering the courses. So that's the beauty of the micro credential.
Earlier, you made a clear distinction between a micro credential and a degree. But I'm sure many in our audience are asking the same question I'm about to ask. Does this mean that a 3 or 4 year degree is becoming obsolete, especially if micro credentials allow people to acquire skills quickly and secure employment faster?
No, it will never replace a degree, right? A degree gives you a solid foundation, gives you grounding, whereas micro credentials often targeting specific skills that you can acquire fast, right? And also very, very targeted, delivered in a way which should let you acquire practical skills. So, micro credentials will never replace degrees. Yes, when we talk about stackable micro credentials, these allow you to accumulate micro credentials and eventually claim a degree. So these are called stackable micro credentials. So it depends on the regulation that the university has and the authorities. You can stack micro credentials to eventually claim a degree.
So there's no need for the parents to panic.
No, of course not. And I always recommend people to understand that a degree gives you a solid foundation that allows you to move at any point in time in your career. I take a concrete example. A chemical engineer can complete a degree at the university, will understand all the theory, everything, but may not have access to the boilers, to the big equipment that a plant has, a chemical plant has. So, how do I acquire that skills to manipulate those plants? It's through micro credentials. The university cannot teach it because they don't have it on campus. So it's not included in the degree program. Yet the student needs that skill to manipulate such machines. So instead of spending another year, the student can actually enroll in a micro credential that has been designed by the industry, right? Or by the industry and the university, and follow the program there at the workplace.
Before we close this chapter on micro-credentials, what message would you like to send to students, working professionals, and most importantly, employers?
To the students, don't wait till the end of your degree. See what are the micro credentials that might be relevant to your work. And I would suggest that you start enrolling, right, following those micro credentials. But remember again, three things: that they must be provided by a trusted provider, that they must be assessed, and also they must be very, very structured, right? For example, a student following any program might feel, well, he or she needs to understand how AI works. I take an example. A student following a degree in HR might wish to know what are the AI tools that are available that would allow the student from the beginning, for example, with the recruitment till the exit, what are the AI tools that are now available and would like to be trained, right, to use the AI tools. So these can be available through micro credentials. And the AI tools may not be there in the curriculum of the student. To the professionals, we have a good news for you that during your work, if you feel that you lack certain skills, today through micro credentials, you can get them without having to spend a long time at the university or the industry. So the professionals can remain skilled, updated by having recourse to the macro credentials. And to the employers, I have an important message. Open the doors of your institution, of your organization. Let the student be there. Let the researchers be there. Let our academics have access to the facilities you have. Get your experts to talk to the academics. Let the university and the industry speak the same language, so that at the end of the day, the graduates who come out of the university are employable and have the skills that allow them to take up the job immediately.
And finally, what is the one key takeaway our audience should remember from today's discussion on micro-credentials?
You have different ways of acquiring the certificate you're looking for. We have now, at least Mauritius has legalized one pathway, which is the micro credential. Through the micro credentials, you can have the skills and the competencies you're looking for.
Minister Dr. Kaviraj Soukon, thank you very much. This has been an insightful and enriching conversation on micro-credential. You helped us better understand the topic and how we can benefit the students, professionals, or even the employers. So thank you once again, and we look forward to welcoming you in our next episode, where we will explore the role of artificial intelligence in higher education, science, and research.
Thank you very much.
To our viewers and listeners, thanks for tuning in. See you soon.